better for various people. One of the first points we came to was the idea of news for you, so you get to basically edit the news that you see by fact of what you've seen before. So very often you can read an article a day later after the news has happened, and you know half the story anyway. You just want to know the new bits. So you can almost, by chance of clicking and choosing, making selections, pick the news exactly for you. So my big argument is that sometimes you want different news at different times. So, for example, if you're looking for travel news, if you're heading home from work, you don't care how somebody feels about the M6. You don't care about an opinion about the motorway. You just want to know where the traffic jams are. You want to know which junction, so you want to know the facts, you want to know the bare bones. But sometimes you want to know a bit more meat about the story. You want to know about how somebody feels about a particular political situation or a particular football team being relegated or being promoted. So there is this idea that at different times of the day, different situations, different news for you. So we're trying to work out ways of how you could sort of self-moderate the news that you see, or pick and choose different elements of the news. And yeah, that was kind of where we got to. We didn't quite know how or why or when, but yeah, news for you was a big issue. Readers.
Yeah, so we looked at readers and how important for online journalism reader engagement is. It's really important, obviously, but one of the big issues you have as mainstream media is trusting the people who comment. So like we say on here, what we'd love to do is get people to become curators of the website and to actually moderators of the website themselves. But this brings up another issue, like I say, of trust. An example comes to mind today of our front page story where we had an exclusive on the football club around here saying that the manager was going to go. Now, we had it as 100% absolute fact, and all the other media groups said that it was wrong, so then all the 20 commenters underneath said that we got our facts wrong. So the issue that throws up there is, if you then trust a large group of people who all say exactly the same thing and then they get it wrong, how does that leave you as a publisher? So although it's really important that you get curators bringing new parts to the story and people commenting, bringing new parts to the story and saying, bringing new information, it's also a massive issue of trust, which I'm not sure how you get over. Although you were saying one answer to that.
I think that one way around that is to make sure that whoever is moderating, whoever's saying this is true or this is false, says exactly who they are. So everyone knows, and this person knows, that everyone knows who they are, and they're showing, it's publicly available, and they know it, so that they're actually becoming responsible for exactly what they're writing, essentially, which is often the problem in that a lot of people are anonymous and they just write whatever, they're not accountable for it. But if obviously it's verified who the person is, then it makes it a bit more difficult, or people are a lot more conscious about what they write and make sure what they write is correct. So
if you can overcome this issue of trust with commenters and readers, and people are open about everything, then there will be much more engagement and there'll be much more news for you by you, because everybody will have a vested interest in getting things right. But as long as people can comment and have a say anonymous, and all of the responsibility relies on the publisher and not on the commenter, then there's never going to be a chance for people to have that equal sidedness to it. So that's a problem I think we have to overcome. I don't know how we do it yet. It's kind of where we've got to with that.
Okay, the third issue is how to actually make things link together, because each news organization it's a silo of information. They don't make up a list outside, and you have the same story covered by Telegraph, by Guardian, by anybody else, and you have no links in between. And you like a conversation to be across all these kind of publishers, and there will never be an agreement. So you cannot actually frame them into another third-party site or get a legal problem. But what you can do, you can have a browser doing this for you, the browser extensions that can actually interfere with the actual news item and enrich them with links to other related stories and conversations that are outside of the actual newspaper domain. And that by means they cannot be censored or influenced by the publisher. It can be cross domains. And then the only thing to enable this just have to happen outside of the regular site, like in the browser, and you have to have the ability to address news items at paragraph and let's say fact level as normality. And that would be the how to actually enable this.
What we'd actually do with it, like, we have no idea. We have vague ideas about having a very basic story first, and then people would add to it and it would grow that way. We had ideas of three-dimensional mind maps that people could add to. These are all ideas which kind of then brought issues of hyperlinking and how do we trust our readers, who can enforce their opinion on the story, who can add to the story. So yeah, what shape it actually takes is still very much under debate.
The thing about the news for you that strikes me is generally consumption of news really varies through the day. So when people are checking news during the day, they're just kind of snacking because they're bored at work. And then, but obviously, the kind of 6 o'clock news is a classic sit back and just let it wash over you kind of thing. So whether you could factor that into it, so you could say if I'm checking this website at 12 o'clock and it's dinner time and I'm going to have more time for it, but if it's kind of 10 o'clock then I'm just bored and I just want the headlines.
We kind of had the idea of you could almost dip in and out of the story as it and watch it grow almost, so you could have the bare facts of how the story started, and as text or links or things were added, they were almost three-dimensional, so they're almost, the new stuff was nearer to you, so you could either go straight to the story, or if you had more time you could experience the rest of it. So almost we're taking the text away from it and it becomes more of a three-dimensional experience. Someone called Disney ride, but it's almost like an experience than just text that you read. I don't know, we kind of thought of ideas of you choose when you dip in and you can also see what's new when you click on it. But yeah, the idea of different people at different times want different things. So
You're choosing the news for yourself.
Yes.
How do you ensure that people are still able to find stuff they wouldn't normally want to, they would stumble across? One of the great things with news with public service radio and stuff is that you hear a broad range of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily go and find yourself. Whereas if you're just finding the news that is interesting to you, then you don't get a broad understanding of what's going on in the world.
is that you could almost have hints of what's around it. Does that make sense? So very often you'll find new things out by clicking on from things. So you can bulk of the stories in the middle. Let's just do it from a basic website first. So bulk of the stories in the middle, but then around the outside are the other bits that you can then click on to get to other things.
That was said it says include 5% random stories or 10% random stories.
Absolutely.
And then you've got your element of serendipity. And if you want to get more complex, 5% of random stories, but exclude anything about dreadful talent show.
Also, do you think that, like, naturally, I listen to the radio so that I stumble across those stuff, or as I go to the web and want to look at something specific, as a search for it, so you go...
Yeah, the more it becomes that you find, well, even now I find that Google simply give me stuff that things I want to know. Yeah. Not the stuff I don't want to know. But actually, sometimes I want to discover an opinion that I actually don't like.
At the moment, how do you do that? How do you find things that you don't know that you want to know yet?
Well, I don't make an effort to it, so I'm probably not getting it.
I guess TV and what is the TV and radio?
TV and radio.
The sit back and do is very much.
Particularly radio.
That's what newspaper is, though, isn't it? The newspaper is, you flick through, read the bits you want, and you've got to read through the whole thing to get to it, so you just can't do that online because you don't flick through, you click through, don't you? Something that interests you. You're never going to get to page 17 story because that's hidden away on the website, whereas if you're flicking through a newspaper, you can get to it. So.
Although almost on the website.